Back in the saddle, looking for a little affection. Oh, this is Tim. This is New York Giants Straight Talk, Online Big Blue, whatever the hell you want to fucking call me. Manic depression gets in my soul. Giants, of course, with the win against the vaunted Indianapolis Colts. Oh, my God. I mean, seriously. We're number 4. We're number 4. It was good to get a Giant win. It was good to get a Giant win. Hey, what's up, OGR? OGR says, what did OGR says? Tim, I can actually catch a live stream for once. Well, maybe you can come on a little bit later. We're number 4. Is that the game? Don't know whether to be excited. Don't know whether to be depressed. I don't know what. But I've seen some of the biggest celebrations for a 3-win team that you are probably ever going to see in the history of the NFL. You would think the Giants won the Super Bowl yesterday. You won a home game. And I know in a 2-win season, that's a big deal, but you won a home game. Oh, my God. So we drop all the way to 4th. The Venerable Carl Banks says, you know what? Don't worry, guys. You ever heard of a thing called trading up? Have you met our general manager? Have you met Joe Schoen? I think it was Pat Leonard. I think it was Pat Leonard. I think Pat Leonard's the guy that tells the truth. I don't remember, but I think he posted something on Twitter that basically said, you know, you're a 2-win team. You're terrible on offense, defense, special teams, head coaching, drafting, free agency. If this isn't what you need to do to get yourself fired as a coach and a general manager, what do you have to do? I mean, seriously, and you're going to have people that are going to be, you already have people that are expanding the virtues of, you know what we got to do? We got to keep Drew Lock. I mean, seriously, if you're like, we got to keep Drew Lock. He could be the bridge. He's not even the bridge over the river. He's not the bridge over the River Kwai. He's not Drew Lock got lucky. We ran into a team yesterday that couldn't freaking tackle. Why does my camera keep cutting out? I don't know. We ran into a team yesterday they couldn't catch. They couldn't tackle. We barely beat a 497-year-old quarterback. But you already have people saying that Drew Lock's the bridge. We should skip getting a quarterback this year. Refix the offensive line again, and then we'll be all right. Yes, there's rum in here. It's the day before New Year's, so New Year's Eve. So yeah, it's Irish coffee. Ran into a bunch of people at the game yesterday. We posted a lot of the pictures. I got to post, and for the people I took pictures with that I didn't post yet, I'm going to post those later. Ran into a lot of people at the game, so that was very exciting. It was like I said, it was like his old home week. It was old home week. Wasn't going to go. Sold our tickets. Wasn't going to go. Then I looked at the price of the tickets just to even get in the Corona Club. It was like $10. So I was like, told the wife, fuck it. We're going. Pack up. We're going. Sold my parking pass. And to get my VIP parking pass again, it was funny because it cost me more in service fees than it did the actual cost of the pass. So we end up going. Had a great time. Also stopped over at the mall, but it was a very raucous crowd. It was very electric in the stadium for a 2-win team, for a 3-win team. And I know, listen, you know what? You got to get excited about something. This isn't the Knicks. I love it. B. Will right here just says they will pay Drew Lock $160 million now for this game. You have Giant fans that are like, see, this is what it was going to be like. I knew it if we had a quarterback. Oh, my God. Make the bad man stop. Oh, what's up? What do we got to say? Oh, and we got to just give, and I didn't wear the jersey today, and I'm actually thinking about going to the game on Sunday because it's the Giant Eagle game. Saquon Barkley potentially going to break Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record has been flexed to 1 o'clock. It's not even it's not even the 4 o'clock game. So Saquon Barkley goes over 2,000 yards. He gets the dose of karma that says, I could break the record if I go against the people that said I was garbage. Joe Schoen, no, I still love that scene with Joe Schoen. Well, and that one guy, well, who's going to pay for a running back? Anyone that has the money? I'm all over the place. I said it before. The Giants are a 4-win team. 4 to 5 win team, I said. I've been saying that forever. We're at 3 wins. You look at the teams ahead of us in the draft, and you're like, okay, who? I mean, who's going to really, CBS has already got their mock draft out. I love that, especially after this loss. And I'm still a Cam Ward guy. You got Travis Hunter, to me, is going to New England. Does the Titans stay? I'm very tired. Do the Titans stay the course with Will Levis, or do they grab a quarterback at 2? I think you probably go wide receiver or running back. You got the big kid that looks like what's your name to me. Cleveland's in at 3. I think Cleveland's going to grab either Ward or Sanders because they need a quarterback. The only problem is they got that huge boat anchor of a contract, and they've already come out and said we're going to run it back with Deshaun Watson. It's the Giant way. So that means even at 4, you still have the potential to grab yourself either Sanders or Ward. I'm still, like I said, I'm not upset with Elon, but I'm still shooting for Ward. I think Sanders got exposed a lot against BYU. BYU put together a game plan that was basically take away Travis Hunter and see what watch what happens to Sanders. Of course, what did Ward get the single season passing record or career passing record, and then he was out of the bowl game. So I don't have no problem with that. Douglas says, "Hey Tim, do you know how to feel happy when we won? We also sad that we won. Feel like we lost. We need to hope other teams win now to get back into the safer spot for our quarterback." That about wraps it up. Mr. Taz, all the way from Philly, says, considering both the Titans and the Browns probably want new quarterbacks, Ward and Sanders are likely out of the reach of New York. I don't know. Like I said, do the Titans run it back with Willis? You got another. You're in year 3. He's on a what you call a deal. He's on a second round pick deal. He doesn't have a 5th-year option. So do you roll it back? He has had moments. Do you roll it back with Will Levis? I don't know. That's going to be the question. Douglas says, true, but the Titans are going to play through the Texans, who are going to sit in there with the starters and get the Pats the ball, playing the ball. Mr. Taz says, now the Phillies locked the number 2 seed, they will chance to do the funniest thing for the last game of the season if they rest all their starters. Oh, my God. I still think this is the curse of Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson, of course, who drew the ire of Giant fans because of the fact that we didn't make the playoffs at 6 and 10. Not saying anything, because he pulled Jalen Hurts to see what this kid had, who wasn't even a kid, this other quarterback, and they basically tanked the game, which got them Devontae Smith. The Eagles tanked right. They leapfrogged the Giants, get the wide receiver that the Giants won, threw the whole Giants draft into a conundrum. They pass on Parsons and grab Kadarius Toney. What that stupid trade. Let's see. I like Tankus Interruptus. I like that. Let's see. Dark Friend says, you need to give us too much capital into Patriots to get back into number 1. Now, unless we get lucky next week by losing, everyone in the front of us somehow is winning. I think to Mr. Taz's point, I think Philly's just rest. I don't know how bad Barkley wants the record. I really don't. That's going to be the question. Colts really put the anti-tank mines up. First of all, I thought the Giants were a bad tackling team. There was a play on Neighbors that there was I think literally there was 497 missed tackles. There was that Wandale Robinson play. It's almost like the Colts say, you know what? The Giants beat us 2 years ago here. and everyone anointed Daniel Jones the hero, and they beat us and they made us look bad because we were a bad team. We're gonna fuck them. We're just, even though it's the playoffs on the line, just don't tackle. It's painful being a Giant fan, but we're also Nick fans. Zach and Tex like, okay, first of all, where was this offense all season? Second of all, the curse of Eli Manning. We've talked about the curse of Eli Manning, and when Eli Manning got on the Hall of Fame ballot, that was the Giants' last win.
This place is cursed.
So now Eli Manning has made the finalist. Zach and us always we joke about this, that the curse of Eli Manning says the Giants are going to win because now he's made the top 15. And it looks like the curse was in full effect. Mr. Hartman says, leave it to the Giants not even know how to lose properly. I guess there's Jalen Milroe. I can't take Milroe. Jalen Milroe has most upside, and I don't know where you're seeing that. I see a running quarterback who has difficulties passing, which is a quarterback we had already called Daniel Jones. And I don't see when Lamar Jackson came out of Louisville. Yeah, I think his top completion percentage was only 57%, but that's not what he did in Louisville. That's not how they played in Louisville. So you kind of could see in some regards that he was going to be different in a way, and his completion percentage has gone up. I don't see that with Milroe yet. I just don't see it. Daryl says the Giants can and will find a way to a Giant situation. We can't even lose, right? Nope, we can't. As Dave says, I think the Giants will win next week because the Eagles will sit their starters, pretty much destroy their chances of getting a quarterback. Yeah, that's the Giant way. Then you'll have a segment of the Giant fans saying, "You know what we have to do? We gotta keep Shane now, because he's not gonna draft. If we keep, I think it was Pat Leonard. If we cannot figure out as an organization that this team has taken Herculean steps backwards for the last 3 seasons after starting 7-2, what do you have to do then in this league to their point to get fired? To Pat Leonard's point, what do you have to do then? And I'm kind of curious about this because I think it's a great question. Because at the end of the day, you have a team and you have an organization that is just spiraling. You're going to get the one feel-good win at home, and then you're going to have people like, "Oh, okay, you know what? We just need to keep Drew Lock." I see it on Twitter. People are like, "We got to keep Drew Lock. He's the answer. I knew it." You played a team in Indianapolis that just couldn't fucking tackle. I mean, even what was their safety? I don't even know. Skyline says, "Hey everyone, this is why we paid Drew Lock all that money for the moments like this. Yeah, to fuck the team." Luke says, "Being a Giant fan is since Y.A. Tittle can't do it anymore." I don't go back to Y.A. Tittle. I go back to Craig Morton. I've heard the stories of Y.A. Tittle, the bald eagle. I've heard the stories of Chuck and Charlie Conley, the original Marlboro Man. I loved it yesterday because we ran into Lorenzo, and Lorenzo was cracking me up because he was there with his friend, and he's like, he goes, "Tim can't be anything but Irish." Because you look at him, he can't be anything but Irish. And as an Irishman and a Giant fan, I got 2 strikes against me because, Irish like to drink and Giant fans need to drink. So there's just something very wrong here. Daryl says, what does Daryl say? "We should have kept Daniel Jones until the end of the season so we could at least lose properly." Daniel Jones, if he dresses for 1 game and he leaves Minnesota gets a compensatory pick. Think about that one. "I don't know what to do anymore with this franchise. So sorry we had the first pick locked, and that this is not the draft. We're trading up and wasting draft capital. This win might legitimately push a rebuild back 5-6 years." Here's a great point. You're right. This is not a draft. This is not a strong draft. This is the, what is it? The 2020. This is the 2022 draft. This is the Kenny Pickett draft. This is not the draft to trade up in. This is not the draft to burn 2026 capital, which you've already burned some to get Brian Burns, to then move up into this organization. This is just not that draft. This draft is just outside of maybe the top 5 I don't think there is a game-changing player in this draft. And we need so many different things, and I keep telling people all the time, it all starts at the quarterback. You look at the Commanders. What did the Commanders do when they got Jaden Daniels? You also got to look at the Falcons. Penix had that one bad interception, but he played well enough to put his team up. And then, we all know the Atlanta defense let him down. But you could see the difference in the quarterback. You could see the difference in the quarterback play between Cousins and Penix. And I love people because people are like, I know what we need to do. We need, wait for it, we need to take Kirk Cousins because they're going to release him. Yeah, they're going to release Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins is shot. Can we just be 100% honest? Kirk Cousins is shot. I have to laugh because Kayvon Thibodeau and Nacho Man got sacks yesterday. How do you only have 2 sacks against a 4,968-year-old quarterback in Joe Flacco? He is not just stationary. He is not just stationary. He is cemetery because he's like cemented like a tombstone. What does Avery says? There's actually one positive in all this, Lowell. The Giant fans can finally unite as one. Every camp has blown up. The Ward camp, the Sanders camp, the trade back and get a I don't think where the Giants sit positionally at 4 is a trade back value pick. I don't think people in this draft are going to sit there and say, I need to trade up to 4 to get this kid, because I just don't see it outside of maybe the top 4, top 5. Like I said, I don't see this being this incredibly strong draft. And you get these years where the draft just isn't, isn't where it, you always will have those players, but sometimes it's one of those drafts where, you just don't, like I said, outside of Hunter, outside of Ward, outside of Sanders. I like Will Johnson, the corner, but I'm just looking at this draft and I'm just kind of like, I love the kid out of I love the big running back out of Boise State, but you're not going to take him. He's probably going to go anywhere between 13 and 17. It's more than a crapshoot than anything else this year. What is the dark fans? So thank you for the super chat. No Cousins, no Schoen, no Daboll, no trading up. I think it should be no. Thank you for the super chat. No trades ups. That's what I think we call no trades up. And like you're a kid, no take backs. Oh my god. And I love it because, like I said, Carl Banks doesn't get it. He really doesn't, because his Twitter post was, well, I can't be mad that the Giants won, and people shouldn't be upset that they won. We've been so bad for maybe because you get a paycheck from the team, Carl. A lot of us don't get paychecks from the team. And you always sit there and say, you know what? I'm always talking the truth. I don't know what the hell that was. Scratching and mixing. Scratching and mixing. I don't know what that did. Where the hell? Yeah, there we go. I don't know what happened there. But you got a paycheck from the team. Some of us actually pay the team to watch this stupidity. And people keep asking me, are you renewing your season tickets next year? If we don't go a quarterback route, probably not. No. I'm probably not going to do it. Why would I crazily do it? I mean, I don't know.
Because you need to be a real fan, man.
Oh, thank you, baby Carl. But I don't know, guys. What does Jennifer say? Jennifer says, "Hey Tim, the stupidity of this franchise, the NFL was willing and needs to step in again and get the Giants market back into the universe as well. They did turning off the next gen GM of the Giant fans generational fans needs to Here's the problem. And no, Kirk, and go back to the dark friend. Kirk Cousins is shot. You're right. He looks shot. But that's a Giant way. That's like when we got Craig Morton. Craig Morton was shot, and then he went on to Denver and led them the next season after we let him go to the Super Bowl. I think as a younger Giant fan, you have to be turned off by this team. You have to. I mean, seriously, there's where's your hope? Malik Neighbors? Yeah, Malik Neighbors had a great game. But they also missed about 400 tackles on Malik Neighbors. He finally busted the big play, like I said, he needed to do. He needed to actually go out and bust a big play because just using his pure speed, he finally did that. That's great and all. But if I don't have a quarterback to throw Malik Neighbors the ball, what does it matter? No, don't say Dylan Gabriel. No, I don't like Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel, of course, started his career at UCF. He had the injury. He is not. I'm not saying he's not an NFL quarterback, but he's not the answer. Let me find out where I left off. Oh, Roy. What's up, Big Roy? Roy says, Neighbors reception won me $1,200 yesterday. Okay, well, I expect a $1,200 super chat. Giants need to grab Mason Graham from Michigan. Hit that like button, says T-Brad. It's mandatory. T-Brad, you still out and about? The Dark Friend says, this team hurts my head, makes me miss. Danny Cannell does. Makes me miss. Oh, that's pretty crazy. Riz the Great says, this season is incredibly not fun to watch. I don't think I can handle another losing season like this. It's really not. It's just terrible to watch. It's terrible to sit here and go through this. Then you have this false deity in a single game in Drew Lock that people are going gaga over. This was a $5 million quarterback. I'm gonna break the news to some of these people. You know that extra money we didn't have for Saquon Barkley, the 2,000-yard rusher? Remember that guy? Remember the extra $2 million we didn't have? You gave it to Drew Lock. Just remember that. The Giants better not trade up. There's no asset. There's just I just don't see it. New York State of Mind says, would it be safe to say Milroe is the top third quarterback in this draft? I cannot say he's a top. I cannot say he's a top 3. I'm trying to think who I'd put. I'd probably put Dart ahead of him, actually, because I think Dart has more of the two-way ability. But Dart to me is a third rounder at best. In this draft, you're going to have a quarterback that's going to go. You're going to have a quarterback that's going to go in the second round. That does not deserve to go in the second round. I mean, if it's me, I'm looking. It's funny. I might take Quinn over Milroe. So I'd probably put Milroe probably 4th. I would probably take Quinn right now. If you're going to go off, because you got to remember that there's. I kind of like Dart though. I really do. And I don't want to hear about Colin McCord. I don't want to hear about Riley Leonard. I don't want to hear about any of those guys. Please don't even mention those guys. I don't like I said, I don't like Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel to me is a backup. He's a 5th-year starter outside the injury. I mean, I think Milroe has the raw talent, but I think he's more right now. I think he's the knock on Lamar Jackson when he was taken in the second round, that he was more of an athlete than a quarterback. I do think that Jalen Milroe is more of an athlete than a quarterback. Now he's played at high levels against team, but he's if you look at him mechanically, and you kind of look at his lower body, he doesn't plant well. It's just he's got this. He's not a Tim Tebow motion, but he doesn't know how to plant. He doesn't know how to basically get the ball out of the pocket when he's not on the run, and it kind of leads to him having accuracy issues. And those accuracy issues, wait for it, leads to bad ball placement, which we've seen. It's his footwork. Footwork's going to have to be figured out. I'm 100%. And then if you look at kind of his ability, his playmaking ability is not questioned, but his decision-making process in my mind is questionable. Who does that sound like? Mr. Bruce, what's up? I hate this team. I hate everything about this team. This team is a waste of time. This team is a waste of energy. This team is a waste of money. Now, that being said, let's see here. I'm done being a fan, says Giants guy. Mr. Bruce says, yes, the Giants guy. I'm on the motto right now. Oh, my God. Jalen Milroe is the best player in the NFL draft. And,
It's Daniel. Gentlemen, which brings me to my next point. Don't smoke crack.
No, something froze. Some whole computer froze there. Let's see here. We should let's see. Should the Giants just fill out the roster and get a free agent quarterback if they don't get Ward or Sanders? Who's your free agent quarterback going to be? You're going to get Sam Darnold? We've seen what happens when you give one season wonders money. Kirk Cousins? There's no Baker Mayfield in this equation. There's no quarterback that you think you can hang your hat on franchise-wise. And who says that even 2026 is going to be a better draft? Isaiah says, Tim, if the Giants don't draft Sanders or Ward, should they trade back? And this is not a trade-back draft. This is really not. I mean, talent-wise, there is some talent in this draft, but there's not this. I don't think unless someone wants to, unless there's a quarterback available at 4. And then the Giants want to trade back? Yeah, but this is just not a trade back draft. Justin Fields is our next quarterback. We aren't getting Ward or Sanders. If we reach for any other quarterback, I will lose it. I think I think Fields stays in Pittsburgh. You have Mike Tomlin as your head coach. You have Russell Wilson, who's probably either going to have 1 or 2 years left. And he may not even have 1 year left. If I'm Russell Wilson, I beg Pittsburgh to stay. Mr. Albert says, with the Colts, it was Gus Bradley's defense. Of course, the defense can't tackle. They looked terrible. They looked god awful. Instead of trading up, let's trade down. Yeah, this is just not the draft to do it. I look at this draft, and like I said, I'm not enamored with many players in this draft. It happens. You have, like I said, it's what is it, 2022 draft all over again. It happens. It comes in cycles. Last year was that draft where you could grab a quarterback and a wide receiver within the first 3 rounds and be fine. We're seeing the maturation of all the quarterbacks right now. We really are. We are seeing it in front of our own eyes. But the problem is this: we were so stupid that we just decided that, you know what, we don't need a quarterback. We need to take a wide receiver at 6 to fix the quarterback. And listen, I think Malik Neighbors is having a great season. I think he's an all-world talent. But let's be honest. With 50 less targets, Brian Thomas Jr. has got 1,179 yards and 10 touchdowns in 50 less targets. Playing with the likes of Mac Jones and Trevor Lawrence's before he went out, stats were eerily similar to those also known. Why did he play? Shut up. That are eerily similar to someone named Daniel Jones. So you could have grabbed Michael Penix. You could have got a Brian Thomas Jr. Hell, you could have gotten a Keenan Coleman. I love that big play Keenan Coleman had the other day. That catch in the end zone. But we don't want to talk about that stuff. Keenan Coleman had another touchdown. How many touchdowns does Keenan Coleman have? He's got 4. He's got 4. Taking it in the second round, still has and missed a bunch of games, still averaging 19 yards receptions, 4 touchdowns over 500 yards. You had a draft where you could fix everything last year. If you were a draft prognosticator, you looked at this 2025 draft and you should have, if you're inside the Giant franchise, if you're inside the Giant building, you look at this 2025 draft and you should have said in 2024, I need to grab my wide receiver this year and stay with my quarterback. Because listen, I'm watching Drew Phillips play. I don't see it. I really don't. Yeah, he had the interception. I don't see it. The league's completing like 80% of their passes against him for some obscene number of first downs. And he's your third corner, and he's supposed to be your third guy. And some people are higher on Phillips than they are on Banks. Banks is getting no safety help. None. Because Pinnock and Dane Belton are just god-awful. Dane Belton had the nice interception. Great. Dane Belton gets you the interception, but then he gives up like 3 touchdowns. We got to thank the Big Donner for gifting the 5 online Big Blue memberships. Thank you, Big Don. Big Don, sorry. You get all your videos early. All that you get all that fun stuff. Big Don dropping it in for the kids. Make sure you got to give Big Don thanks you, Big Don, for that. But this isn't the draft. This is the draft where your medal as a general manager is made, because this is not that draft a couple of years ago where some people say I'm a genius, but how can you screw up 5 and 7? You did. And you're probably going to pick up, you're not going to pick up the 5th-year option on Evan Neal, so you screwed up 7. You shouldn't pick up the 5th-year option on Kayvon Thibodeau either, but you're probably going to because you're a stupid general manager. And then you're good. Sanders is not the first round quarterback. Where would Cam Ward draft last year? I'd be fine trading picks and punting. Sanders is, and so is Ward. They both would have went in the top 10 last year. If the seasons they're having now, they would have gone. Let's be honest, they would have gone in the top 10 last year. I was there yesterday. It was a beautiful, ugly one. It was a beautiful day. When the sun came out, it was like 65 degrees. Tim, the stupidity of the franchise is. Oh yeah, we got that. We got that one already. This franchise is fixed. We're fucked. Let's see here. That's a $60 million question. Still remains on Schoen and Daboll. No, they need to fire both of them. We wouldn't be able to trade up. Both teams ahead of us, the quarterbacks, no matter what we offer, there will be better. I'm telling you, the way we have right now, you're going to go Hunter, and Hunter's going to New England. Like I said, we got to see we got to see what they're thinking of Will Levis. That's the wild card is going to be the Titans. That's the wild card at 2. And Ward at 3. I mean, and you know Cleveland's taking it. And why would Cleveland trade out of that spot? Yeah, we're kind of fucked. This draft somehow is going to be too much for Joe to handle every way. If Sanders and Ward were there at 4, he would still mess it up. He really would still mess it up. Big Greg, what's up? Happy holidays, Big T in the chat. Yes, New York State. Yeah, to be trashed for 3 years and hope you get Archie Manning. That's the tickets. Oh, my God. Big Don. 315, baby. Big Don also gave out the online Big Blue memberships. Make sure you stay tuned for that. Mr. Taz says, thank you, Big Don, as always. Let's see here. Breaking news. After the Giants win on Sunday, Giants owner John Mara and Joe Schoen agreed off $10 million fully guaranteed extension. That's the Giant way. James says, to follow up with my last comment, sign Fields as our franchise quarterback. He's still young enough to be. I like Justin Fields. I don't think Justin Fields leaving Pittsburgh. If I was Justin Fields, you would need to get some dynamite and a pickaxe and a dump truck and a bulldozer to get me out of that quarterback room in Pittsburgh. It's one of those situations that why would you leave the Steelers? I mean, seriously, why would you leave the Steelers? All they do is win. All they do is make the playoffs. And you know Russell Wilson is a bad game away for you being the starting quarterback. Let's see. It was the smartest thing this fan ever did was implement the PSL, because at that point, you have a ton of people dumping their season. Oh, no. Let me help you out there, Riz. Let me help you out there, Riz, one about the PSLs. You could sell your PSLs on the open market. So that is no longer a factor for PSL owners, because I've already talked to my wife about just selling our PSLs, calling it a day and selling the PSLs. We have Big Don dropping in another super chat. I thought I saw a super chat. Already gift. Oh no, it's sticker. Big Don with the sticker. I love stickers. Big Don with the says keep it up. I love the Big Don. I love Big Don. I always did. What is Brandon? So what's up, Brandon? Tim, I like Dart. It'd be crazy to go get another receiver corner. Maybe take the big defensive tackle from Michigan at 4. Grab Dart in the second round. Is that crazy? I can't take you have Dexter Lawrence. I can't take a defensive tackle at 4. Your issue with the run game is not the interior of the line. It's those two guys that stand on the outside. Your issue is Kayvon Thibodeau and his brother in crime, Brian Burns, who neither of them can play the run. And outside of Bobby Okereke, you have zero linebackers that can play the run well. Don't give me McFadden, because McFadden misses way too many tackles. Way too many tackles. So don't give me McFadden. The issue is it was funny. Shane Bowen summed it up in his first meeting on Hard Knocks. What do you need, Shane? I need 2 linebackers and a defensive tackle. What about Brian Burns? We gave away assets. We gave away money for a guy that we didn't need. That we didn't need. I hope you guys win on the game and strip the draft anymore. You guys need a huge free agency. That's great. I love, because people are like, with free agency, we got $60 million to spend. You don't have a quarterback. Yeah, we got most teams that have $60 million in cap space don't have a quarterback on the roster. It's only the most important position in sports. But Giants for years, and going back to Jerry Reese, neglected the linebacker position. We would go get guys like in the 7th round, and and they would play well for a couple seasons and then they would disappear. But we always neglected the linebackers. Right now what we're doing right now is we're neglecting the quarterback. We don't need one of those guys. Fuck them. We need more of?
Submitted for your approval. The Ghost Brothers. Nobody needs to be afraid.
Nobody needs to be afraid. I love it. Big Don with the super chat, with the $5 super chat. You're welcome for the membership, you heathens. Hey, Petro, what's up? Hey, Petro, I hope you and your family had a great Christmas. We had a great Christmas. Tim, Brandon says, Tim, we got to that comment. Off Broadway. This year's draft is loaded with quarterbacks and defensive tackles. Get one and you can fill the role. Hold, pause, please. That's what she said. No, I'm sorry.
That's what she said.
What do we got here with Darlene says you need like 6,670 players in free agency. That's all we need. It's usually 4,978. Mr. Bruce says the fans are going to be able to talk on the. Are fans going to be able to talk on the stream today? Aren't you talking now? Oh, sure. Here you go. Everyone wants to come on the stream. I'm going to put the link. I'm going to put the needle on the record. People can come on I'm only going to allow for a few minutes for people. But yes, Mr. Bruce. Yes, Jabari. There you go. I'll put the link in the chat. You need to go big and free agency this year, and you need to try to get a couple players in the draft. Here's the problem, and this is the thing with free agency. Look at like the Packers. Look at the Vikings. Look at the Lions. You build through the draft and you augment through free agency. The Giants, one time, built through free agency, had that 11-5 season, and then the fucking everything fell off. Everything fell off and died. I got to drop in the Big Don here. Big Don, what's going on, man? Running your route, I see, huh?
I'm not driving this time. Look, I'm still.
Okay, good. So we always got to yell at Don because he likes to drive and fucking talk to people. Listen, the state of Texas, they could shoot you for that.
Hey, I've got better fish to fry right now with all these empty shelves. It's been crazy. I'm telling you.
Yeah, a lot of Giant fans and sitting there going, "Hey, listen, we need something to drink."
Oh, I ran into one. I ran into one yesterday when I was working. He had a lander, and I was like, "Oh, you a Giants fan?" He was like, "Yes, sir." And then we just looked at each other, and then we put our heads down. He was like, "But we're winning right now." I'm like, "Ah."
Yeah.
He was like, "We better not win this game."
It was bad enough to watch in the stadium.
You know what's funny, Tim? Nobody. All right, so. It's funny that you even brought up how I remember all the years with Jerry Reese we neglected the linebacker.
All the time.
But I remember that one year though, I'll never forget. I think it was either a middle outside linebacker from Georgia Tech that we were looking at. He ended up going first round. I think Minnesota got him. And Jerry Reese went to that practice, and it's notorious. If Jerry Reese goes there, like, we're gonna draft them. So we're all happy, we're all hype. We're like, we're about to get a linebacker, and then Minnesota scoops him up, and I'm like, oh well, there goes the one linebacker that Jerry Reese is gonna get.
Linebacker we could have grabbed, but we've I mean, you would take like what's his kid, the kid Williams out of what was it? Not Central Florida, South Florida University. He played. We were number 57. We took him late. We took a bunch of guys late that played in the Super Bowls, but then just kind of disappeared. But they're kind of doing the same thing with the quarterback now. And you have a certain segment of the fan base that's like, you know what? This is a great idea. Let's not grab the most important position that we have in sports. Let's get a defensive tackle.
Well, I'm already hearing the, I told you guys, Drew Lock, like he's that guy, and everybody's like, are you dumb? What do you mean, Drew? He's played a few games already. There's nowhere else to go. This was an outlier because obviously the Colts didn't care at all because there's no way they should have scored that many points against the Colts.
I don't think the Colts didn't care. I think I think as someone even said, Gus Bradley's defenses are not known for tackling.
Apparently it was like, I see Drew Lock start doing some stuff. Obviously, he looked like he looked like Jones in a playoff game against Minnesota.
It was
all
funny.
that false hope.
There was the Wan'Dale Robinson touchdown catch. I literally almost ran down from my seats and thought I could have made the tackle. That's how many tackles were missed. And I sat all the way up there. We sold our tickets, so I had to sit up in the regular club. So, I literally could have ran down, I thought, at one point in time and made the tackle myself. Because I'm like, he's running in slow motion. He's running in jello, but they're making him look like he's Gale Sayers. Yes, I'm old.
Exactly. He's good for a very, very outshots. All right, well, I got to go, Big Tim. That's my big boss. It was good talking to you.
I'll talk to you later. I'm going to drop in. Thank you, Big Dom. I'm going to drop in Mr. Bruce here. Mr. Bruce, what do you got for us today? Come on, Mr. Drop some knowledge.
I mean, it's real evident. We screwed up. With the Giants are the type of team to shoot ourselves in the foot and then go, oh, shit, I've been shot. That's who we are. We are just incompetent. We had the number 1 overall pick. And we just had to beat the Colts. And then there are people who are really out there, as you said, celebrating this win as if we won the Super Bowl. And it's like the Super Bowl that we're supposed to win is the number 1 overall pick. Does that and as you said, we're not even going to trade back because what assets? Who's going to want to trade up to get the running back's good. He's good, but there are not many prospects that are in this draft that people are going to actually want to trade up.
People like what's his name, Mason Graham, out of Michigan. But I don't see you taking a defensive tackle in this draft at 5. You got Abdul Carter. People I know are out of Penn State, but I think on my early list I have him ranked in the top a 12th prospect. And then you got Will, you want to grab like a Will Johnson, the corner, but I mean, I don't see, Travis Hunter is the number 1 corner in this draft, and I still have some about Travis Hunter, but what are you going to do? Grab a safety? You're going to take Starks?
Mind you, the year after you let Xavier McKinney walk for nothing, it's just like, this team is just, and let me ask you a question. So if let's say, what I think we're going to do because we're a dumb franchise. Let's say we beat the Eagles on Sunday, right? And let's say everyone else, the Raiders, who's in the competition? It's the Raiders, the Patriots, the
right now it goes, the Patriots have the first, then it is the Titans, then is Cleveland, then us, Jacksonville, Carolina, the Jets, the Raiders, and the Bears. Those are and the Saints. That's the top 10 right as we speak.
Okay, so if let's say we were to beat the Eagles, and then the teams that are ahead of us lose their games, where would we draft?
We would probably fall to about 8 or 9.
Yay! Good job, Giants fans. Yes, great job, great fucking job.
But I'm just happy because I said this is a 4 to 5 win team. So if we get 4 wins, I look like a fucking genius again.
I mean, regardless, you say a lot of things that is common sense, but people don't use common sense. So
That's that. It's funny. That was the I met a lot of people that follow the channel yesterday, and that was the common denominator. That people that follow this channel and people that subscribe and people that come on, it's not like we're smart. It's common sense. Like you can't win without a quarterback.
you can't. You can't win. You can't win with a quarterback that is lit. Like, I was having a conversation with somebody, and they said, well, when Daniel Jones was at his peak, he was a record-breaking quarterback. And I was like, when Daniel Jones was at his worst, he was also breaking records for having the most turnovers in Super Bowl, like the Super Bowl, the most turnovers in the Super Bowl era, something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, like.
Well, here's the thing with people that they don't get with Daniel Jones. They're like, well, he fixed his interception problem. Yes, because the coaching staff has decided not to let him throw the ball more than 4 yards. When your yards per catch, the yards per attempt is the league average is 7. Daniel Jones was like 4.5. So when you're 3 yards under the league average in reference to the distance you throw the ball over the line of scrimmage, that tells me the team is basically saying, hey, listen, we don't want you to throw the ball.
My fault, Tim. These dogs are going crazy. So I'm gonna come back, but let me take care of these dogs really quick.
All right, do what you gotta do, man. Let's get back to the chat here. Make sure we get there. What does Daryl say? Daryl says, just think how much less the headache this draft would be if we took Penix or Nick's last draft. Bo looked good up to a point yesterday or the other day. He looked good up to a point. And and then he just couldn't move forward on the team. It would have been just Roy Jones says, let's go big in free agency this year. I hope we can get Daniel Jones on a veteran 1-year contract. Greg says, I don't know how to keep Saquon Russ for 2,000 yards this draft. McKinney is the best safety in the league. And don't forget about Julius Love. And don't forget about
King of the almost sack.
And don't forget about all those offensive linemen that all of a sudden couldn't play in New York, but finally figured it out how to play elsewhere. Smithers says this draft somehow is going to be too much for Joe to handle. Either way, Sanders or Ward were 4. He'll still mess it up. Yep, I like it. Let's see. Bernard Pfeiffer out of Mayberry U Party. I like that. That's a good one, Montana. Bernard F. Fife out of Mayberry U at the pick at number 4. Drew Lock sucks. Yeah, it sums it up. You're right. Smithers says it was me or Ward better than Sanders. What are people seeing? I think Ward is better than Sanders. I do think Ward. We got Petro coming in here. Petro, what's going on, friend?
Hey Tim, how you doing?
What do you got? What do you got for me with this Giant team? Talk us down off the ledge.
I mean,
and the ledge,
I'm already off the ledge.
The ledge.
I was gonna say I'm already off the ledge, but
you look good for not being on the ledge anymore.
Thank you. I personally think we should get. I know you were just talking about how you wouldn't get Abdul Carter, but I think we do take Abdul Carter, especially if we win against the Eagles, because I think we should have Kayvon Thibodeau be more of that guy that's rotated into the D line, rather than having him and Brian Burns start together.
Okay, here's my question. I'm gonna interrupt you about Abdul Carter.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where are you playing Abdul Carter? What position is Abdul Carter going to be?
I would put him on the edge.
You're going to take another 6'3", 235-pound guy and put him on the edge.
I personally think he's going to be a lot better than Kayvon Thibodeau.
Well, that ain't saying much. Dirt is a lot better than mud.
Yeah.
But you know what? I still don't want either one of them in my house.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. But I think
my thing, and I'm not bashing Abdul Carter. I'm not bashing him at all because he's a guy that can get to the quarterback. But you're taking a guy that, let's say we stay at 4, and let's say both the quarterbacks are gone. You're talking about a guy that first of all he's a Philly native. He's close to the area. He had 11 sacks, I think a couple forced fumbles last year. He is good at getting after the quarterback 100%. But on this Giant defense, At one point in time, we led the league in sacks. If you were looking at this Giant defense from an outside perspective, what would you say was the number one issue this team has?
Our secondary, for sure.
Secondary, for sure. I was going to say something else, but what's the number two thing you think the issue on this team?
Our linebackers.
Not even just our linebackers, stopping the run.
Yeah.
Off tackle left, off tackle right, off tackle left. Jonathan Taylor yesterday, at one point in time, he was running off tackle, and I'm watching him go, is anyone going to decide maybe to No, it's not against the law to tackle this guy. But right now, our run game is our defensive secondary was and we've talked about this, the issues we had were not exposed as much early in the year when we led the league in sacks. But as soon as our sack total dropped, yes, 100%, our secondary dropped. So my question is this, though. You're going to have Carter. Let's say you dropped Abdul Carter. You're going to have Carter, you're going to have Burns, and you're going to have Thibodeau. And you're going to throw Dexter Lawrence in the mix. If you are a team, Jonathan Taylor ran the ball 32 times for 125 yards yesterday and 2 touchdowns. If you are a team, what are you going to do? My first thought process is I'm just going to run to the outside. I'm going to keep doing the same thing that teams have done against the Giants for the last 3 seasons because they are going to over pursue on the pass rush, which means what's going to open up? Those exterior running lanes.
Okay, question for you, because I don't watch too much college football. Who would be like a linebacker that you would take in this year's draft?
In this year's draft? There's probably not a linebacker I would take, like a real linebacker that I would take in the top maybe 30.
So it'd have to be a second-round choice.
I would most of the guys looking at are going to be considered edge rushers.
Okay.
I like what's his name? Tyler Booker out of Alabama. I'm saying if we're going to go, I'm talking about him in reference to being, if you're going to go later for like an interior lineman, because I think we need to fix the line itself. So if I'm going to trade, because everyone's talking about, again, seeing a couple of chats, everyone's talking about trading back. Trading back and you want to go with an interior lineman, it's someone like that I don't have a problem with. But if you're going to go for a pure linebacker, I don't see any in the first round. And like I said, if you want to trade back and get maybe a bigger run stopping edge, what's the kid out of my God, what's his name? I can't think of his name. He's the big kid. He's like 6'4", 285. I can't think of his name.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I can't think of his name, but someone like that, or even Malik Williams. I know some people compare him to Chase Young but he's another big guy. He's another guy that's like 6'5", 265. So you can the saddest part about this team is most of the sacks at one point in time came with Dexter Lawrence playing the defensive end position.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't know. This team is so screwed and has got so many problems. It's hard to figure out which way to go.
Yeah, I feel like it's tough, and that's kind of why I know you were kind of bashing us before about not taking a quarterback because it's the most important position, and I do understand that, but I just feel that there's so many holes in the team, and I know that a good quarterback raises the rest of the team, but I would rather have like the offense and the defense be able to help out the new quarterback coming in and having everything else kind of, obviously never in a perfect world, right? Where we're going to draft a QB and we're going to have all these studs on offense and all these studs on defense, but at least, I mean, we see it now. Like we're what are we, a 3-win team?
We're 3-win. We're sitting at 3 wins right now.
Maybe 4 if we do beat the Eagles, which I still doubt it. Even with their backups playing, I think we'll still lose. But obviously, the team has not a lot of talent at all. So I would rather have the team bolster up the talent and then have a QB come in and at least give the kid a chance.
But here's the question: where are you then going to get a quarterback once you boost up the talent? Where are you then going to get a quarterback?
For this upcoming year?
No. Just like I said, let's say the next 2 years or year or so we don't go quarterback. We boost up the talent. Where are you then getting your quarterback in 2026, 2027?
I was going to say I'd rather take no quarterback this year, or if
Right.
you're going to take one late, and then next year, most likely we're going to have a top 5, top something.
But here's the thing though. Watch this. This one. Watch this. It's going to get tricky here. So you're going to boost up your talent, which if you did that, even with average quarterback play, you're probably going to increase your what?
Our salary,
No.
our wins, and then we're going to drop down.
And then you're going to drop down probably about right where you are now. And if you look at 2026, we don't know what Archie Manning is yet.
Yeah,
we don't. You got the big kid out of Tennessee. I don't know if he's coming out in 2026. What you got? You got the kid from LSU. What's his name?
Wait, the kid from Tennessee. You talking?
I can't think of his name. It's Nico something. I can never. I can never
okay.
name. But we don't know if he's going to be in again. I like the kid. What's his name? The other kid I think it's Jalen Daniels. I think he's a guy that could be like a 2-threat guy. I believe he's over in the KU. But if again, you're going to run into this situation where you start building your talent, your win total goes up a little bit, then your draft position goes right back to where you were, and then you're wasting draft capital to go back to go get a quarterback again.
Yeah,
that's why last year was the perfect year. It could have been the perfect storm of grabbing a quarterback and a wide receiver.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I can't believe the amount of mistakes that they've. Honestly, I'm just surprised that Joe Schoen that Mara hasn't just fired everybody. Just seeing Saquon himself, I feel like should have gotten Joe Schoen fired like yesterday. And then,
what do you think happens with those two? What do you think? What happens with Schoen and Daboll?
I think that. Okay, well, what I want and what I think happens, I think.
First, what you want? What do you think is going to happen?
What do I think is going to happen? I think Daboll's fired and they keep Joe Schoen. I don't know why. I feel like Joe Schoen and Mara are like, even though Hard Knocks didn't really like give this vibe off, I feel like they are tighter than we think they are, and I feel like Joe Schoen is very quickly to throw Daboll under the bus, which I'm not defending either one, but if I were to keep one of them, if I had to keep one of them, it would be Daboll, in my opinion at least, just because, like I said, there's no talent on this team. So, but what I want to happen is I would fire both of them.
You would
fire everybody.
You would get rid of everybody. So you would just clean house and just start over again.
Yep.
Now, a lot of people say you can't do this every 3 years. You can't keep firing your general managers and your head coaches every 3 years. That ruins the continuity of the team. What do you say to that?
So I watch soccer a lot. And if you watch soccer at all, you'll know that teams fire their head coaches like they change their clothes. And honestly, it's worked for a lot of the big teams. And I see it in soccer all the time. You bring in a new coach and they have a spark of 1 to 2 games, and then it kind of like flames out, and then they get fired after a couple more games.
First of all, I'm a man, so I don't watch soccer. And of course, I say that because Dom is right there, and Dom has his new Arsenal channel out there called Arsenal Domination. And make sure you go follow that for the Dahmer. He's on the screen right now, and he's got his big channel going on right now, talking about everything Arsenal. So
I will follow it. I will.
Make sure you follow Dom. So
I will.
Give him a trick. So at the end of the day, at where I'm going to ask you one last question because I got to drop someone else on.
Yeah.
Who is going to be your New York Giants in 2025?
In 2025,
if
we can't get Fields, I would take Winston.
You would take Jameis Winston?
Yep. To save cap room, I would do it.
Well, you're probably still going to have to give him $8 million.
I mean, it's better than paying Daniel Jones $30 million, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. I forgot. Someone just said to me, "Soccer is dope." Actually, says Greg, the turd hauler. So he says, "Soccer is dope, man. It's funky, fly, fresh as well."
I mean, I grew up with it, so I can't really.
That's
I feel like
okay.
I'm a little biased here.
I always just make fun of people that like stuff. That's like
Thank you.
I told my wife a joke yesterday at the game because someone did something, and I said, and she goes, "Why are they not always being nice to that guy?" And I said, well, "What do you call people that hang out with football players?"
People that hang out with football players?
What do you call a person that hangs out with football players?
I don't know. What are they?
A kicker. Same thing with soccer. All right, my friend. Thank you
for coming on. Thank you for having me.
Enjoy your 2025. You're quite welcome. Oh, let's see what else we got. Where do we go, my lovely? Let's see. Walter says Mara is glad now that he doesn't have to pick between Sanders and Ward because he doesn't want either one of them. Well, I think we understand why. Drew Alder from Penn State. He's tall, tanky, white game. And truly, he fits the whole FB Eli Manning. That's actually bad, but funny. Cutthroat with a big old super chat says they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. First of all, that's my line. That's my line. I said that after the one of Dave Gettleman's drafts, after the Xavier McKinney draft, because I kept telling people the first two picks were solid. After that, he literally snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. I don't watch soccer. This is America. Kareem, what's up, Zay? There's no rule saying you can only draft one or two quarterbacks. Draft somewhere else. You doesn't have to be in the first round. No, but I think talent-wise, if you're looking at this draft, if you're going to draft a backup, yeah, I can see this draft being a backup late in the draft. But I think outside the top two guys, those are your choices. I mean, you got to kind of think. I kind of think of it that way. Omega Supreme, what's up? I didn't believe it before them winning yesterday. It's far reach to say that Mara is doing everything not to draft a certain starting quarterback. No Willie Beeman.
That's great.
Gotta get to work. That's right.
Yes.
Come on. My name is Willie. Baby, I keep the ladies screaming, and all my fans got screaming. You can defeat me, you're dreaming.
Flex your chest. Get metrics. Yeah, sometimes we said it before. The carpets don't match the drapes in giant lands when it comes to drafting a quarterback. Let's see here. Pick one. Jalen Milrose, Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers. No, if I got to pick one, I'm going to take Dart. I love it, though, because people are like, the Giants can now draft Carson Beck. Dominic Parra says, I'm afraid I got to disagree on the top issues we need to fix. It's the entire offense, defense, special teams, and everything else in between. Dom, why don't you jump on? Joey two times. Going to get the papers. I'm going to get the papers. Doesn't work for you not to guarantee a top quarterback. We had bad last year and couldn't get a quarterback. We wanted terrible this year, and we still wouldn't get a quarterback we want this year. There were quarterbacks last year. We have 170 some people in this room. We got 29 likes, 28 likes. What the fuck, people? I'm gonna show you how you do this. There's a button with like a little Fonzie. You take this thing, called the mouse, and you click it. Let's see here. Taz says, literally took the Eagles every single year. They picked up at least one offensive lineman. Yeah, they did. Like I said, you guys drafted the replacement for what's his name, for Kelsey 3 years before he retired. Oh, there is no rule. There is no rule. There's no crying in baseball. Let's see here. Teams fire their head coaches in soccer a lot, but it rarely works. I just lost 2 subscribers today because I took this piss out of the people for being stupid. Can't stand soccer. But Greg, the turd hauler, says soccer is actually dope. It's dope. It's funky fly fresh on the flip side. What does David says? Soccer was invented by European ladies to keep themselves busy while their husbands do the cooking. Oh my God, that's a good. I know that. Massey with the super chat said Giants are gonna be the first ever 0-9 team at home. Daboll didn't want the record on him to be his lifetime meme, so he won. What do you think, Tim? I think that yesterday's win had to do with more of the defense of the Colts than it had anything to do with the Giants. As someone that was there, I will tell you, this game was so poorly executed in reference to tackling, it was scary. It was actually scary. I mean, it was like I literally said from where I was sitting at one point in time, I was considering running down and tackling Wan'Dale Robinson for the Colts just to help him out. It's like, I cannot tackle this guy. The Malik Neighbors play, I swear to God, it was 4,968 tackles that were broken. So I really think it's, don't worry though, we still got a chance to go over the division. So Shane says, now question. Okay. Do you think it would be an OC and let's see here, and Lockett trying to save face for another job, or possibly Daboll doing the same thing to find a different? No, the Giant offense was the same Giant offense for the last 15 weeks. Same Giant offense. The biggest difference of this was the fact that no one literally could tackle over on the Indianapolis sideline. No one could tackle. I mean, if you charted the missed tackles, I always say this. WNBA, Angel Reese. They all talk about her offensive rebounding prowess. Well, the problem is when you chuck up 4 shots in a row from underneath the basket and you miss 4 times and you get each one of your offensive rebounds, you're not really getting any offensive rebounds. You're getting your own rebounds. So they were so bad at tackling. If you literally sat there and watched, there was probably at least 900 missed tackles. And for everyone that's got excited about Tyrone Tracy, he had 59 yards on 20 carries, guys. Tyrone Tracy yesterday, if you take out the 40-yard run, had 19 carries for almost 19 yards. He had 19 carries for 19 yards. You take out the big run. And he had another fumble. It's the way you look at this game and the way the Giants were passing. It was the broken tackles for Malik Neighbors on those 2 touchdowns, and on Wan'Dale Robinson, and on Darius Slayton, which led to what happened. What do we got here? What do we got? Thank you, Clocks. Hypothetically, any chance when Arch comes out that the Manning family forced a team's hand where he will be playing? Just curious. Thanks. Here's the problem with Archie Manning. And I've said this, and millions of people have said this on the channels. The Mannings believe in education. No Manning has not stayed at college for 4 years. That's what I keep telling people. And we have to understand, at the end of the day, we don't even know how good he is yet. We couldn't see it. And he's nodding. Either that or he's got a beat in his head. Put the needle on the record. Not Mr. OGR Sports.
No, not too much. How am I coming in okay and whatnot? I really hadn't had to test everything out. So
you're still ugly.
All right, well, I appreciate it.
What's up, man?
Hey. Well, you have to go to the game yesterday. You had to jinx the team.
I know. I screwed everybody up.
I mean, tickets were going for $8 on some sites.
Oh, they were going for less than that. By game time, you can only, the least amount on one site, you can only charge $5. The least amount is $5 on one site. Another site, I think the least amount was like $3. So, I mean, I saw tickets going for like $3 to $5 yesterday.
So, I mean, partially I understand why you went too. I mean, you weren't going to make a profit of the tickets anyways, even if you sold them. So.
Oh, I sold my tickets.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah. I sold them for like $5 a piece.
Oh, good.
And I sold my parking pass. That's why I told people when my wife and I decided, hey, let's just go to the game because the tickets were so cheap. We're like, we can still get into one of the clubs and, for like $15. And then I actually I got a VIP parking pass and I paid more in service fees than I did for the actual pass.
Jesus.
Thanks, StubHub. Big Blue Sports.
Oh, that's great. Oh, man. We have such a conundrum, man.
Oh.
There's so many things to talk about.
I'm trying to get 50 cents for your 50-cent word.
All right.
Conundrum.
I know. But hey, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I'm disappointed. I'm disheartened, but I'm still a Giants fan at the end of the day. So,
right. Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because I'm a glutton for punishment like you.
All right. Okay. I seriously asked that people a question. Why? I mean, what is there right now about the Giants that makes you still want to be a fan? Besides the fact that you've been a fan forever.
Because at the end of the day, I've never given up on things very easily in my life. And trying to walk away from this after putting so much time and effort into a team, it just seems wrong to me. And I at the end of the day, I like the notion of who they are. I like the history. And I'm hoping we can go back to what that is. And I'm willing to go through as much bullshit as I need to go through.
So the last 11 years has not soured you on this team.
Oh, it's soured me. It's made me depressed. It's made me depressed because
it's not even 11. So the last 13 seasons have not soured you on this team.
It has, absolutely. It's made me. I've realized that the ownership is the one that gets in their own way, and they're about. Do people not realize they're about to make the same mistake for a third time in a row? They don't even learn from their mistakes.
What mistake are they making now?
All right. So, what did they do when they fired Tom Coughlin? They kept Jerry Reese.
Right.
What did they do after they fired Jerry Reese? They hired Dave Gettleman and Pat Shermer.
Yep.
What did they do after they fired Pat Shermer? They kept Dave Gettleman.
Kept Dave Gettleman.
So
yeah,
now
we did a whole video on this. Yeah, that's why I just like when other people say.
And then what are they going to do now? From all the beat writers, it seems that Daboll may be out the door. They want to keep Joe Schoen, a guy who's going to be desperate to prove to the world, hey, I'm not as stupid as you guys think. But now that you drop back to 4, you have a guy who's desperate. And I know you've gone through the scenarios because I've been listening to the stream, and you're like, well, maybe the Titans won't take a quarterback, or maybe this won't happen, or maybe this won't happen. But the reality is, if the Giants want their guy, they have to go to 1.
Yeah.
And the New England's sitting there going, hey, we want the King's ransom. I think it's going to take at least 3 number 1s to get up to.
Well, if you were New England, why would you from what you have your quarterback in Drake May? Why would you give up Travis Hunter, even for a King's ransom?
I mean, you have something that you can start. I mean, I understand this. You've said it yourself. Looking back, it's really not. You're not really able to drop down that far, and still, like, it's not a draft you should drop down in.
Right.
And
yeah, this is not a trade back draft. No, definitely.
No, definitely not.
But wise with a trade back draft.
But you are a building team, and you need resources to build around, and I could see why they would do it. But also, there's a reason to keep Travis Hunter. He's star power, and he brings something to your team, and you could have essentially 2 shutdown corners and a guy who's going to give you 20 or 30 snaps on the offense.
With Drake May as your quarterback, as a second year Drake May.
So, I mean, I can see the argument for both. I mean, it never hurts to go get a pass rusher and Abdul Carter, or solidify the interior defense with somebody like Mason Graham.
Right.
So, but for me,
at the end of the day, for you, at the end of the day, who is the quarterback for this team in 2025?
Right now?
Right now. You're sitting at 4. Let's say the season ends today. You're sitting at 4. You have to hope that if Tennessee does not decide to trade that pick, take a quarterback.
All right. I have a GM hat on. Now, am I a GM? Do I have pressure on me, or am I a fresh GM?
You're Joe Schoen.
Then I'm gonna pay the King's ransom and go get Cam Ward.
Really?
Because that's that.
Okay. No,
I'm not looking at it from me personally.
Right.
I'm looking at it from Joe Schoen's point of view. I need to keep my job.
Right.
Keeping my job means I go get my quarterback. Now I can go to John Mara. You've got to give me time. I went and got my guy.
I was about to ask that. Does drafting a rookie quarterback give you any more cachet in that office? Because of the fact that you're going to say, I need more time, but then it's going to be like, okay, so what, I have to give you a 5th year, and we're probably going to still be really bad because you gave up assets to move up X amount of spots?
That's the thing. Like, is John Mara really going to make the same mistake for the 3rd time in a row? Because to me, that's the definition of insanity.
He has a tendency to do it. I mean, he hung on to. If you go, we've only had 8 or 9 GMs in our entire history.
Yeah,
and most of those GMs have come in the last 15 years. a lot of those GMs came then. Even with the mistake, even with Andy Robustelli, who in my mind, outside of Joe Schoen right now, Schoen is probably one of those two are tied for the worst GMs in Giant history.
I agree with that.
But they understood that they needed to get rid of Andy when it was time. And this is a guy that was a Giant, legend. I mean, so it's a little different. Joe Schoen came from Buffalo. So, it's like, but they knew that they had made a mistake with this guy. So they moved on from him. And they went and got George Young, and he was only the GM for 4. He was Robustelli was 74 to 78. But they understood they had to move on from him after everything, especially after the miracle of the Meadowlands and everything else that went on. So Wellington understood I made a huge freaking mistake with this guy, because you had Ray Walsh was the first GM for the Giants, and he was a GM from 47 to 73. So he was the only GM that the Giants knew of. But after 4 seasons, Wellington said, hey, listen, Robustelli ain't the guy. And he was smart enough that, he got rid of it, brought in George Young. The rest is history. Yeah. But so you're saying that John Mara has not learned anything from Wellington?
If I were him, that's been my biggest problem. I'm like, and didn't the Maras recently discover lost letters about talking about Wellington and his journey and whatnot, and talking about the Giants and all the things he lived through in his lifetime? That recently happened. You would think with reflective history that you would go back and be like, hey, maybe I should take a picture out of my dad's book. But I think Mara wants to carve his own path because everything is tied back to Wellington. Right. And that's the biggest problem. He wants to sit there and say, look at me. Okay. It's not just my dad. It's me. Look at what I did.
Yeah.
He wants to separate himself from his dad so bad. I think he doesn't even, obviously he loves his father, but he wants to be something different, and he's trying to carve his own path, and it's just not working. And he's just being stubborn at this point.
Here's the thing I think people forget about the Maras. You had Tim Mara was, Tim Mara Sr., I should say. He's the founder of the Giants. Then Jack Mara took over back in late 50s into the mid 60s. Then Wellington took over till 2004. John Mara has really only been head of football operations and doing everything for this team since 2005, because you had Wellington, then Tim J, and then you had there was another Mara thrown in there. Well, no, Bob Tisch was also at that point in time and came in from 91 to 2004. People forget about that, kind of in that perspective of president of football operations. So John Mara has really only been running this team since 2005.
Very true. But at this point, it's not like you have people in the building you can't talk to that knew your father, that say, hey, what can Pat Hanlon's been there for God knows how long. Yeah, granted, it's like Mr. VP of communications, but still.
Well, he's too busy talking Giants. Allegedly.
Oh God.
Sorry. You have to throw on that legal disclaimer at all the times, because if you don't
you do.
It's something called proof. You have to put that in there. But Wellington, do you ever think that John Mara pulls a Wellington, pulls a James Dolan, where he just steps away like he did in 79 and said, listen, George, I've screwed up this team enough. I'm gonna back off and walk away. And George Young, Ernie Accorsi, Jerry Reese, you guys are in charge. You guys are in charge here. And I'm gonna step back as that meddling Jerry Jones owner, and I'm gonna do what a smart owner should do, which is put football people in the position to make the decisions.
Well, you've made this argument in the past. When you saw Hard Knocks and you saw the way Joe Schoen was laughing at John Mara, even though Mara, to me, was alarming, is why is Mara up in so many of these episodes?
Right. Why is he in so many of these meetings?
Yeah, exactly. And to me, that's a snapshot in time. I really do think John Mara involves himself more than he should. If you're going to hire one of these guys, are you going to do it? I don't think John Mara has done that to anybody he's hired. Plain and simple. That's just my personal feeling. I have no way of proving this. He might be giving that carte blanche to Joe Schoen right now. And maybe that's why he is going to do what he's going to do again, because he finally said, you know what, Joe Schoen, it's your show. I'm going to give you as long as you possibly need to turn this around.
Here's the thing. In Giant history, and I know people are probably bored. Some people are bored of this, but I love Giant history. Giant history, Phil Simms comes off one of his best seasons under Dan Reeves, makes the Pro Bowl, leads the Giants to playoffs, has a shoulder issue, but he was going to come back. But this was the beginning of the salary cap era, so the Giants and Wellington Mara moved on from Phil Simms, moved on from the 38-year-old quarterback. Lawrence Taylor, they knew it was time to let him go. Wellington Mara loved Lawrence Taylor as well, just like he loved Phil Simms, let him go. Harry Carson, same thing. Harry Carson retired on his own, but it was kind of the same thing. Mark Bavaro, thought Mark Bavaro was washed up, worried about his ability to have life after football. Wellington Mara, the Giants, parted ways with him. The list goes on. Back in the 80s and the 90s, when Wellington was the owner, it was always the phrase, once a Giant, always a Giant. But with the Giants, it was kind of like what Bill Belichick did with the Patriots. Listen, if your usefulness is no longer there to the franchise, that dictates your salary, we are going to get rid of you. Joe Morris, Jeff Hostetler, same thing. We're just going to move on from you. Yeah, and it's going to suck, but we're going to do it. John Mara held on to Eli Manning way too long. Held on to Daniel Jones way too long. In my opinion, to his detriment, held on to Jerry Reese way too long. Has this propensity to get involved with certain players and just doesn't want to see them go because of their Giant legacy. Then you reach the likes of Saquon Barkley. The only smart thing I saw John Mara do in that episode was basically say, this is the face of our franchise. This is our guy. We're not saying he's a Hall of Famer. We're not saying he's a gold jacketer, but he is a Giant. He is a warrior. He's still got something left in the tank. And to your point, Joe Schoen is basically mocking him about Saquon, mocking his own staff members, like, who's going to pay this guy? And that one guy looked at him and said, anyone's got salary cap, because he is that generational back who just rushed for over 2,000 yards. Do you think at any point in time, John Mara finds the inner Wellington and says, listen, you know what? We're holding on to these guys. Maybe it's because they're a first-round pick. Maybe it's because they're doing this, but they're just not cutting the mustard, and we just let them go and start rebuilding the franchise the right way.
The Giants are terrible at keeping secrets.
No, never been good.
And if Joe Schoen was going to be fired, or there was even an inkling that Joe Schoen was going to be fired, we would have heard it by now.
Right.
Even us being layman's. So
they would have called
Joe Schoen staying. It's something, I would hate to feel, you have to feel embarrassed as an owner right now. I imagine if you were John Mara, you would be feeling embarrassed right now. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. You
would think if you're feeling this embarrassment by a guy who you went on Hard Knocks and literally got mocked by the world. And somebody showed the famous quote of Buddy Ryan saying, I might botch this, by the way. Don't listen to the fans or you'll be in the stands just like them.
So that was Buddy Ryan.
Yeah.
That was Buddy Ryan in his Philadelphia days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
My thing is this. Marvin's got a real good question here. Tim, if Saquon Barkley breaks the single season rushing records, do you believe that is the nail in the coffin for Joe Schoen, a nail in Joe Schoen's coffin to be fired?
I think it should be. I want to see it happen. I'm a Saquon Barkley fan.
Oh yeah,
I have been. I'm a Penn State fan. People didn't know, so I want to see Saquon do it because I always believed that's the type of back he could be if you ever put him behind a decent offensive line.
Yeah, even when he wasn't behind a decent offensive line, look at his first season with Eli Manning under quarterback.
Exactly. And if he had a quarterback that actually could call an audible from here and there, he probably would still be putting up those numbers.
What, you want an audible? You want a line shift? What do you want, man? Come on. You want to call out the mic? You don't want to have someone do it on the headset right before you reach the line? What's wrong with you?
What? I got to shift it from the A gap to the B gap? Stop.
What are you thinking? You want a quarterback. You don't want Drew Lock who can dance.
Dude, I'd take a quarterback that could friggin' just call an audible at this point. Although I think
one time
in that goal line, I think that touchdown pass in the corner of the end zone there, wasn't that? I think that might have been an audible. I think Drew Lock might have called an audible.
That would be.
Or was it that? It was either that or the one where he ended up running and ended up being like a botch play.
I think the one that he ran ended up running. I think that might have been an audible. No. I think that was just a botch play. Now I take it back, and I think that was just a screwed up play.
But I know I heard him call one audible in that game. I watched the entire game. My father and my uncle, who are lifelong Giants fans, go, "Why are you doing this to yourself? Stop."
Well, that's what everyone tells me. It's like, why do you keep doing this? Why do you keep giving them money? You know, why do you write a check every year?
Because at the end of the day, Tim, you are the definition of a diehard fan. You are the definition.
Stupid fan.
Not these guys who sit there and claim they're diehards with a bunch of gear in their basement saying, oh, better times are ahead. Better times are ahead. Better time. You're a cheerleader at that point. Be honest about people who can be honest about the situation they're in and still root for the people. I almost hearken it back to, a family member that's going through something in their life and they've gone through trials and tribulations and you're there for them as needed.
Right.
And that's the way I look at being a fan and being honest about not just sitting there being a rah-rah cheerleader and just accepting what's been given to you on your television set. I'm sorry.
I think I'm an idiot fan.
No, I think you're a fan. The only idiot thing that you did was keep your credit card on file with the New York Giants. I hope you've made that change.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. But I'm laughing because I didn't remove it till yesterday.
Oh my God! So when do they renew PLCs?
Well, you only pay the PSLs once.
Okay, but when do they renew the
renew the season tickets? Like in February.
So
it's before the draft, which I love. It's before the draft. Yeah, figured it out. It's funny though because I only did it yesterday because I went on the website to sell the parking pass, and something said to me, you need to kind of go to the other thing, click off and delete the form of payments.
I'm going to ask you this though. You have a chance to rectify that. If the Giants do fire Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, which would be the right thing to do, and hire any old GM or any old coach, I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily the ones we pick, but ones that somebody that you may have a little confidence in. And you can see that they're gearing up to potentially take a quarterback. Would you renew your tickets for next season?
Yes. I've said this, and I've said this a million times. If they keep Joe Schoen, I quit. I will cancel my season tickets. I will sell my PSLs on the secondary market, and I will cancel my season tickets. Because you are giving the reins to the franchise for the last 3 years, and we've gotten demonstrably worse after going 7-2. And any astute, not even Giant fan, football fan, knew that 7-2 was an aberration. You won the game, first game of the season, because they missed a field goal. You lost the game in Jacksonville, or won the game in Jacksonville by a yard. And there were 2 interceptions that were called back on Daniel Jones on bad penalties against the Jaguars. So you're already a 5-win team in that first start right now. And there was another game. I can't remember the other game. I used to remember all the games, but then you had another game you should have lost as well. So you should really have been you should have won 4 games, maybe 3 out of those first 9. Then you go 2-5-1. Then you go 6-11. And now you're a 3-win team. The roster has gotten demonstratively worse. His draft, I love how people think this is the greatest draft ever. Yesterday, Tyrone Tracy, 20 carries for 59 yards. 40 of them came on one play. He would have been 18 for 19 in reference to yards on his carries and had another fumble. And listen, I give the kid all the credit in the world because he's a wide receiver playing running back. But I'm not sitting there getting all gaga that these are the first 1,000-yard guys. Okay, great. Malik Neighbors' big game was against a defense that couldn't tackle. Not saying Malik Neighbors isn't all world, but I am saying this. I've said the same thing about Drew Phillips. Everyone's going gaga over him as the third corner, but the problem is the league's completing 80% of their passes against him for an astronomical number of first downs, over 10 yards of play. Tyler Nubin should be a linebacker. He should not be a safety. Pinnock should be gone. Dane Belton should be gone. You look at his last 2 drafts. We literally have gone down those drafts every time. You screwed up 5 and 7. Your first draft looks like an entire bust from pick 1 through 7th round. 2 years ago was not any better. And now you're going to hope that this draft this year is going to be your cornerstone draft when you had your cornerstone draft at 5 and 7. And the dude picked his own quarterback when he gave $160 million to Daniel Jones. He picked his quarterback. Why do we allow him to come back in this building and pick another guy or pass on a quarterback again when you were in a draft laden with quarterbacks and wide receivers last year? You could have grabbed a Penix and a Brian Thomas Jr., who's had a better season than Malik Neighbors with just as bad quarterback play. But we sit there and we look at this guy and we got to give him one more chance. Tell me why, OG. OGR, just tell me why.
Tell you why, easy. It's a guy that's playing Madden at his GM.
His son, I think, would be a better general manager.
No, he would. I love how when he went through the round table of all his kids, all the kids said a quarterback. Every single one said a quarterback. And I think the little girl wanted Drake May because he was cute.
And we don't even get over the fact that Julian Love came back hat in hand.
Yep.
After wanted half the money that they offered him. He said no because we got like Yusuf Corker and all these other guys. So we're happy with our safety position. You let McKinney go for nothing. You could have traded and got some kind of value for him. You let Saquon Barkley go for nothing at this point in time. You traded for Darren Waller, who I kept saying he's 2 years removed from having a good season. And it had nothing to do with the wedding. It's just they understood they had to get him the fuck off the roster because he was terrible and he was never going to get any better. You made a trade for Brian Burns where you knew you weren't a defensive end away and gave him $120 million. Paris Campbell came out and said, listen, the Giants were the only team to offer me money. And that's why he came to New York. He was the only one they offered a contract. You still gave him $5 million a year. You told me the market for Drew Lock was $4 million. You gave him $5 million. John Runyon Jr., we've said it before, the nicest thing they could say about him in Green Bay is don't pull him as a guard because he trips over his own feet. And they drafted his replacement the last year he was there and alternated him between the rookie during the last 6 weeks of the seasons and he into the playoffs. You went out and got Ellie Moore Fudd, who's played well, but you outbidded yourself against him with the Cardinals, and everything with Joe Shane was, you look at Josh Jacobs going to Green Bay. Josh Jacobs, when he was in that interview with Green Bay, talked about the culture, talked about the franchise, talked about how what it meant to be a Packer. Giants, what they did last year is we just threw more money at people. Oh, same with Drew Lock. He's only a $4 million quarterback. Let's give him $5 million.
I love this too. I actually would have kept. Granted, it's not going to sound good, but everyone, if you look around the league, all the other like guys that we've let go, they found a home. They found a niche beyond just like the guys you mentioned, like the McKinneys and whatnot. All the underlings. Everybody. Although Mr. Glowinski did give up the sack yesterday to Raheem Nugent.
Matt from Connecticut's actually played well at times in San Francisco.
Exactly.
Will Hernandez, outside of this year, had 2 good years in Arizona. We have, and like I said, we always had to hear it was Bobby Johnson's fault. It was Mark Colombo's fault. And now the offensive line is playing for shit. So we're not going to blame, what's his name? What's his Barcelo? I can't remember.
Yeah.
We're not going to blame him now, but it was always the coach's fault. You've said this before, that this is what the Giants have done the last 10 years. And you're right. You're 100% right. Thought about this again. They're following a pattern. First thing you do, you fire a position coach. We did that in Bobby Johnson. Next thing, you fire a coordinator. We did that with Wink. The next thing that you do is you fire the head coach. We're probably going to do that in Brian Daboll. Then you finally fire the general manager. You're right. You're right. Oh my God, you're 100% right. I forgot all about it. I forgot about the Giant way. We blame everyone down the line till we get to the last person that we need to fire, and then we sit there and we look at him and turn around and go, okay, it was the general manager's fault. When it was the general manager's fault the whole time because he brought in the coach, he brought in the players, he brought in the free agents, he ran the draft. I think it was Pat Leonard that said today or yesterday, Joe Schoen has done everything in his ability to get himself fired, and he ran through everything and said, if you did all this and you still do not get fired, what is a fireable offense here?
There is none. There is none. I mean, at that point, just let Joe Schoen write it out. Let him have 15 years of it, because at that point, the biggest problem is John Mara can't look in the mirror and go, it's my fault. Because I know your like logic of, hey, GM, coach, let him go. Maybe we can find something else. But at some point, you have to look in the mirror and say, hey, it's on me. If John Mara came out tomorrow and said, I'm going to fire Schoen and Daboll, I'm going to fire Joe Schoen, it's my fault the Giants are where they are, everything in Giants Nation would stop. Nobody would have an argument, nothing. It would bring the whole fan base together. There wouldn't be a peep on Twitter. Because he has to come out and say it. Because it's his fault. There's nothing getting around it. It's 13 years of bad decision, making the same mistake over and over again and expecting a different result.
So you're saying that if he pulls a Wellington Mara, like in 78, after the Miracle of the Meadowlands, mans up and say, you know what, I got to step back from this because I'm the problem.
And the thing is, we have a lineage of hiring like people that have been with us, and there's a guy in Detroit, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you've mentioned him myself. Go get him. Go get him. Like, that's the guy that deserves to be a GM more than anything else. He's earned it through the White Ray. He's gotten his experience. He's gotten his thing. Former number 1 pick in Agnew. Like, go get the guy.
Yep. We did a video about it. We did a video about Ray.
That's my guy. Go get him. Because at this point, if you can't look in the mirror and say, I need to fire Joe Schoen, I need to reset this thing. I mean, putting Joe Schoen, obviously Joe Schoen has put himself in that position for the most part, but allowing your GM to still be in that position, knowing he's going to be panicked, Joe Schoen is going to do whatever he needs to do to move up in that draft with the Patriots. And he may give over 3 number 1 picks. He may get 4. Hell, he might pull a Mike Ditka with
Ricky Williams.
And just give the whole draft. I'm not even joking.
He might pull a Bo Callahan and give up 3 number 1s.
Yep.
Then go to Jeff Carson and trade all the number 2s. I mean, at Ray Agnew Jr., I'm going to give you a little. I'm going to ask you a question on him, because there's going to be a reason why a large segment of Giant fans do not like him. Can you think of why a large segment of Giant fans would not like Ray Agnew?
I don't know enough about Ray to answer that question. I'll be completely honest.
Okay.
A
lot
of the history I learned from you.
You want me to tell you why?
Why?
Because he was a Patriot. He was drafted in the first round by the Patriots before he came to the Giants. So some people will sit there and tell you, well, it's the Patriot way now. So we're grabbing the next Patriot.
Who gives a shit?
You've been on Twitter.
People are stupid. Even the ones that sit there and go, I'm not a content creator, but then they'll have a podcast.
I know, man. How about those Knicks, though?
No, hey, salute. I'm not, obviously, I'm not a Knicks fan, but hey, I watched the game on Christmas Day. Salute.
So big win by the Knicks. What about the Arsenal? Are you following Arsenal domination?
Oh, of course I'm following my good friend Dom.
Make sure everyone follows Arsenal domination.
I'm not an Arsenal fan, but I do enjoy his channel and do check his channel out.
I do. I actually leave comments on his channel because I told him all the time. I just said I would probably learn more about soccer if it wasn't for that damn accent he has, and I can't fucking understand what he's saying half the time. And I've known Dom for years now, and I still can't figure out what the hell he's saying. At the end of the day, we got the last game, the 1 o'clock start, and I got to get out of here. Last game, 1 o'clock start against the Philadelphia Eagles. I think he's 105 yards away from breaking the record Saquon Barkley is. If you are Nick, what do you do?
All right, so I discussed this with somebody in the chat earlier. my good friend Zach G. And what I said was Barry Sanders' idol. I'm giving it away. Saquon Barkley's idol has always been Barry Sanders.
Right.
Looking at it from the lens of Barry Sanders, if I were Saquon Barkley, regardless if I want payback or not, that's not something Barry Sanders would do.
No.
I see Saquon saying, it is what it is. I did what I could do in 16 games. I'm only the 9th player that went over 2,000 yards. You know what? I had a great season. I'm going to take a week off. And I wouldn't blame him if he did.
Said the same thing. I did the 2016 games as a person, and we don't know Saquon Barkley personally, but just knowing the way he was at college and the way he is in the pros, we saw the first game against the Giants. He had the opportunity to get the most rushing yards he ever had in a game against the Giants. And Nick Sirianni came up and asked, I played the clip. It came up and asked Saquon, do you want to go for it? You're like 20 yards away. Do you want to get your single game rushing record? He said, no, let the young kids eat. And I kind of think same thing. Saquon is 16 yards. 16 games, over 2,000 yards. I could see him just saying, you know what? I did what I wanted to do.
The one caveat I'll have before we go is if Detroit loses tonight, their last game is Minnesota.
Right.
I don't know if the Eagles can the Eagles leapfrog Minnesota?
I believe
for the number one.
I believe right now they're locked in 2. I think
they're locked in 2 regardless.
I believe they're locked in 2 regardless.
So there's your answer. I didn't know how that scenario went out, but there's literally no reason for the Eagles to play the last game of the season.
No,
there's no reason for Baltimore to play their starters the last game of the season either.
I got to answer Omar's question because I knew the Colin McCord thing was going to come up. And also, I only know about Colin McCord, and I've only been watching him because of Big Don, and he's a huge Syracuse fan. I could see in this draft, I could see Kyle McCord as a 3rd or a 4th round pick, but him, Riley Leonard, other people like that, I think their high end is Spencer Rattler.
And by the way, there's another guy that people are going to go gaga for because I think this team's going to win the national championship, and that's Oregon. I think people are going to go gaga over Dylan Gabriel, especially if he wins a national championship.
I can't. I saw him play at UCF. He's a 5th-year starter. It's Kenny Pickett all over again.
I know. I
know. It's not you. I'm just saying it's Kenny Pickett all. It's got Kenny Pickett written all over it.
Fans are going to want Dylan Gabriel too.
Yeah, can't. Just can't. Like I said, I've been watching that kid since his freshman year at UCF. No, I'm good. I'm good though.
Although I do think he's good enough to carry them to a national championship. I think
but that's But we've seen plenty of college quarterbacks that win national championships that don't even make the NFL.
Oh yeah, and not to mention my Penn State Nittany Lions literally have the easiest path to the national championship. It's literally pathetic.
And speaking of pathetic, if you want to talk about a national championship quarterback for the Nittany Lions, Todd Blackledge, who couldn't play out of a paper bag when he went to the Kansas City Chiefs, screwed that franchise over. Bill Kinney had to come over and save that franchise from Todd Blackledge.
Oh, and not to mention this, their current starting quarterback reminds me of Christian Hackenberg, but he's just slightly better. I'm not even joking. I can't stand.
And the Jets are still cringing. Oh, gave a 2nd round pick.
Have you heard the Bro Pabula controversy?
Uh-uh.
It's not really a controversy. So basically, because our current starting quarterback announced that he's coming back for his final season because he knows he's not going to go very high in the NFL draft because he's been leaping down draft boards all year and he's just probably getting lower and lower. He thinks he has a better shot next year for a higher draft pick, so he came back. Bo Pabula, who has more mobility, and I'd argue will become more, to me, he's just a better quarterback prospect. Enter the transfer portal, not because he wanted to, because he never knew he was never going to get a shot at Penn State. And James Franklin gave him his blessing. And now I'm just pissed because that's the guy who deserves to start, not the current guy we have. It pisses me off. But that's
one day we're going to talk about that transfer portal because I believe that transfer portal has screwed up the NCAA. OG, don't go anywhere because we're going to close this out. This is Tim's Your Gentry, powered by Olympic Blue LLC. I want to thank everyone. Don't remember, hit that like button all the way out. We got 100-something people and only 50-something likes. So make sure we hit 200-something with 50 clicks. Make sure you hit that like button. Have yourself a happy new year. And you know what, guys? Stay safe. We're out of here. Peace.